through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it aloud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him, he's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules, a new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way. Say goodbye to all chains, embrace the new. A financial revolution, fair and true. For the workers, the dreamers.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Kryptonaut channel. I am Zester. Thank you so much for joining me this Friday morning, which we are joined by all of the Kitty Cat crew for. I have got Tommy back over here chilling in his cat hammock. I have got Tino over here on his hammock. And then I've got Tina hanging out in the lap. And so a very, very, very happy after Thanksgiving from all of the Italian street gang Kitty Cat crew, Tino, Tina, and Tommy. I hope everyone had an awesome Thanksgiving. I started the stream a little early because I noticed I had all of the cats hanging out with me for a second, and I figured some folks might enjoy that one. Once I get talking and rambling, I tend to scare off at least one of them. One of them says, hey, it's time to quiet down. I'm going to go find a quiet spot to sleep. But yes, we've got all three. I hope everyone's had an amazing, amazing start to the morning. Yes, Mile High Trish, we've got 2 cat swings. Now I've got a third one coming, but Tina doesn't really like it. And so I don't know whether that third cat hammock is ever going to be used, or if Tino and Tommy are just going to use it as their vacation hammock. Because Tina just doesn't. Tina wants to show up and be in a lap. Tina doesn't want to sit in a hammock. She's not interested in what's going on outside. Tina couldn't care less. But Tino and Tommy definitely do. And so let me get through saying good mornings to everyone. And then we're going to jump in and talk about Monad. It's going to be a pretty short stream today. As a heads up to everyone, we're going to focus on just Monad. And so we're going to talk about it, the newest blockchain out there. It launched on the 24th of November. And so this thing is 4 days old at this point. And I think I'm rounding up a little bit when I say that it's 4 days old. So it's an interesting one. It didn't come out of nowhere, but it definitely flew under the radar. Just because there was so much else going on, already so many blockchains out there. Monad really wasn't getting a ton of hype and press before its release, but now it's getting one buttload of hype and press. And so let's go through and get through the good morning so we can jump in and talk about that one. Good morning, Mile High Trish. Happy Friday to you. Good morning, Crazy Chester. Yes, an important one. Please do remember the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes and not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. A very important one. Thank you, Trish, for making certain I get it. Good morning, Lori. Good morning, Anna. Good morning, Nico. Oh, yes. And well, look at that. As soon as I was about to read that, Anika, apparently this hammock is more comfortable than that hammock because Tommy just made the switch. What do you think, Tina? Is this one not comfortable enough? I don't even think Tina's jumped into that one. Tina really does not like these hammocks. And I think she's afraid by the glass floor. Yes, yeah, Cali Dad. Interesting they use the name Monad. It is. There's a lot that's very, very interesting about this project. The date that it released, Cali Dad, it released the 24th of November, 2 days after ISO standards came into effect for all banking, messaging and banking protocols. 2 days after that, it comes in and launches. It's got a ton of hype. It launches on essentially every major exchange on the planet on day one. That is unheard of. That is either one buttload of money or one buttload of connections. There's a lot odd going on here. There's a lot odd here when it comes to Monad. We're going to talk about it. Well, good morning, Franco. Good morning, Outcast. Good morning, Reno. Thank you guys all so much for joining. Good morning, Hands to Hearts Pottery. Let's go ahead and jump right in, though, guys. We're going to start talking about Monad. Today will be probably about a 30-minute stream. We're going to focus on Monad, but then I've got time to answer questions as well. So if you've got questions about anything and everything going on, don't worry, put them into the chat. I'll get an answer for you. All right, though, let's go ahead and start our deep dive here. First things first, as we always do, before we get too far into the markets, let's see where we're all at. And so right now, Bitcoin has made it back over 90,000, sitting at $91,350 per Bitcoin. Ethereum back over 3,000. XRP sitting at $2.21, up 15.7% over the past 7 days. It is leading the pack in the top 10 at this point, fairly substantially. Ethereum coming in second at 12.3%, but otherwise it's doing very well. But right here in the trending, you'll notice Monad. As a matter of fact, if you've been on just about any exchange over the past 3 or 4 days, if you've been anywhere in the crypto world, you've heard about Monad. Log into your MetaMask wallet. Well, what's the first thing that MetaMask lets you know? Jump into Monad. Come on over here and maybe log in to, say, your Gemini account and go over to the home page on a Gemini account. New token, Monad. Go over to Coinbase. Log into your Coinbase account. Guess what it's going to tell you about? Monad. Anywhere you go, everywhere you go in the cryptocurrency space right now, you are hearing about Monad. And so let's go ahead and click on it. If it's not in the trending, guys, you just go over here up to search, type in MONAD, and click on Monad. And so Monad, here's its coin market cap, or CoinGecko in my case, page. And right here, we can learn a little bit about kind of what's going on. Monad currently has a market capitalization of 397 million. This puts it at 185th in terms of the rankings. It is the 185th largest cryptocurrency by market cap as of right now. It has a fully diluted valuation of 3.6 billion. And the reason being here is because only 10.8 billion of the Monad coins are actually circulating. The total supply will end up being 100 billion. That's actually the same exact number as XRP, by the way. 100 billion happens to be how many XRP there will ever be. And same thing here with Monad, 100 billion. Now, let's dive in, though, to a little bit more of what Monad is in and of itself before we start digging into all the things that have occurred since it launched. And so for that, we're actually going to go straight to the AI, because when it comes down to making things simple as possible, the AI tends to achieve that in the fastest way you can get it. And so Monad is a next generation layer 1 blockchain designed to achieve high performance, true decentralization, and full EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine Compatibility. Now, what this EVM means, this Ethereum Virtual Machine, it means that it is 100% compatible with the Ethereum blockchain. That means they can communicate. Other crypto blockchains that would be EVM compatible would be the Binance Smart Chain. That would be up here at, BNB, being the crypto of the Binance Smart Chain. It would be EVM compatible. Ethereum, of course, is EVM compatible. They created the term. As you continue to scroll on down, you're going to come across other EVM compatible blockchains. Avalanche right here is an EVM compatible blockchain. It is pretty much just a copy paste of the Ethereum blockchain. And so that means that Monad can seamlessly integrate with anything on the Ethereum blockchain, which the Ethereum blockchain has the most advanced smart contract technology on the planet, at least in terms of real world use case at this point in time. And so that's something that it's capable of. It aims to solve the blockchain trilemma by enabling Ethereum-style smart contracts to run faster, cheaper, and more efficiently without sacrificing compatibility. This network can process up to 10,000 transactions per second with sub-second finality, approximately 0.8 seconds, and block times as low as 0.4. This is achieved by a very, very much a genuine innovation. Monad's blockchain has something that no other blockchain has. Monad employs parallel execution, allowing multiple transactions to be processed simultaneously and asynchronous execution, which separates the consensus and execution phases to improve efficiency. This separation provides a 400x increase in time budget for execution compared to interleaved models. Essentially, what Monad is arguing is that they are many hundreds of times more efficient than any blockchain out there, because every other blockchain executes every transaction individually inside of the block, whereas Monad is actually executing transactions in parallel. Hundreds of transactions are actually being finalized in the same amount of time it would take a typical blockchain to finalize one. And now that's not all that crazy, because a lot of blockchains are very, very fast. XRP can easily handle 10,000 transactions per second, but it's not running them in parallel. It's individually executing it off of their consensus blockchain mechanism, which brings me to the next interesting part here with Monad. Monad is utilizing a proof of stake system with a consensus model. The only major consensus model blockchains out there are XRP, XLM. They are the ISO blockchains. They are particularly concerned about that point. Monad, for some reason, is concerned about that point. And so Monad, at the core of Monad's design, is Monad BFT, a customized Byzantine fault-tolerant consensus protocol based on the Hot Stuff framework. Consensus protocol. This is a term that you would hear in regards to the XRP ledger or the Stellar blockchain. They are consensus models. They are consensus mechanism blockchains. They essentially are managing to make things extremely efficient through the consensus model. This is different with Monad, because Monad reduces consensus round to two phases, enabling linear communication complexity. Optimistic responsiveness allows the network to progress at actual network latency rather than worst case timeouts. Features tail and fork resistance, protecting against certain MEV attacks, and it utilizes a proof of stake mechanism. Now, that means that with Monad, we are able to stake our monad in order to mine more monad. Essentially, it is still very much proof of stake in the same way that Ethereum would be in terms of how you mine it, how you run the network. And so, as of right now, you, me, anybody else can stake monad and become a validator on the monad blockchain. You will earn monad for doing so. But it maintains a hybridized model of something very similar to XRP. And so it's proof of stake in the way that Ethereum is proof of stake. You lock up your Ethereum, you get rewarded Ethereum for validating transactions and blocks on the blockchain. Same idea here, but it's utilizing the consensus mechanism very similar to XRP at the same time. This means that it is extremely, extremely cheap to have a transaction executed on the monad blockchain because it's a consensus mechanism. They happen to be the cheapest blockchains to send transactions on out there, at least to my knowledge. Someone can inform me if there is another blockchain model that can beat the transaction fees that the consensus models can. I would be very, very, very surprised. I don't think it exists, but they're taking that and they're combining the two. The decentralization of the Ethereum blockchain paired with the benefits of the centralization of a blockchain like the XRP ledger. Because it is. XRP ledger is centralized. The mechanism that runs and validates transactions on the XRP ledger is just a couple of hundred validators. And the 99% of those are pretty much being done by Ripple or major companies that they're partnered with. And so you don't get rewarded XRP for staking XRP to validate the blockchain. It's not a real thing. Doesn't exist anywhere on the planet, even for people outside of the United States. This is different. You are staking your monad. You are receiving and being returned monad and in doing so. But you also have the ability to send transactions for many fractions of a penny. And so this is interesting. It's brand new. It's somewhat exciting. It seems as if it is a technological advancement, genuinely providing things that other cryptos haven't. But that really isn't the entire story. Monad's been around for a while. It's been in development for a while. It is founded by Keon Han, the CEO, James Hunsaker, the CTO, and Eunice Giarta, the Chief Operating Officer. All former employees of Jump Trading with expertise in low latency systems. They have been raising money and funding throughout the past previous years, finally now getting to the actual launch of Monad. They are a US-based company, and so Monad is actually headquartered in the US. I did a little bit of a deep dive on this one. I managed to find their incorporation. They are incorporated in the state of Delaware, and they are operating out of the state of New York. New York, as a matter of fact. And so they are operating a US-based company. They appear to be, or at least the vast majority of employees appear to be US-based, or at least US-tied. But with blockchains, these things are always spread across the planet. You might have a developer who's in, Serbia. You may have a marketing guy in the US. You may have a citation guy in Mexico. It's kind of the nature of technology, tech companies, and especially the blockchain, but they do appear to be US based. And now let's dive into kind of what has happened. You know a little bit about what Monad is. It's a new blockchain. What they're trying to do is to essentially solve the issue of the EVM compatible chains. A lot of the Ethereum chains and the smart contracts that Ethereum has developed and brought about are quite expensive to deploy. The Ethereum blockchain is not extremely efficient when it comes down to the cost of sending transactions. This is something Ethereum has been working on, continuing to improve, but it remains an issue. It's still cheaper to send a transaction on the XRP ledger than it is on Ethereum. And in all honesty, because of the way the blockchain works, it's probably always going to be that way. The XRP consensus mechanism is far more centralized, far more efficient in that regard. But by having something like Monad, this could potentially change that thought process for Ethereum. Monad is directly interoperable with Ethereum. Monad can send transactions at just as fast a speed as XRP can, or any other super fast blockchain can, and it can do it at the same cost. Now, the fact that this launched for Ethereum 2 days after the ISO standards come out, I believe was very, very much intentional. And I have actually been doing a deep dive. I believe Monad is ISO compliant. And so I think this is very, very interesting. And that was another reason I wanted to talk about it. Not just because it's a new thing, everyone's getting it advertised to them. To me, it's very, very weird when it came out and that it didn't have a ton of hype all around it this entire time. Because in all honesty, you would think we would have been hearing about Monad for a very long time when you consider what it is capable of doing and why it's trying to do it. But to give a little bit more context, some of the different plans Monad has is Monad essentially wants to allow for, with their blockchain, the ability to directly connect blockchain technology to interactive applications. Things like video games or things like different apps, different services. They believe they are so fast and that the Monad blockchain is so fast that it is going to essentially be just as fast, if not faster, than the internet. Then if you were to be running an application that was not connected to a blockchain at all, that was running natively on your device. That is what Monad is aspiring to be. So fast that they are as fast as something that is just operating inside of a closed ecosystem. Whether they have achieved this, whether it will work out, huge question marks. This is 4 days old. I'm telling you what we know and what they claim to be able to do. In all honesty, in the coming months, we may find out that Monad isn't capable of doing all these things, or we may find out that their technology is everything they claimed it to be. That is absolutely, we're going to learn that together. All right, let me answer some questions before I jump in to continuing on this one. And yes, I noticed, there you are, Kaldai. The Monad is therefore supreme being, divinity of the totality of all things, aka another name for God. That is why I think there's a lot that's odd here, Callie. There's a lot. This one is weird in a variety of different ways. The name is weird. The launch date is weird. The way that it works is weird. The connections that the team has are weird. They launch on every major US exchange on the same day. That is crazy. To put that into perspective, USDC, the stable coin backed by Coinbase and Circle, a conglomeration of major tech companies, some of the most connected people in the country. USDC did not launch on all those exchanges on day one. They weren't even close to being on all those exchanges on day one. And they were literally being backed by everyone in the US government, being backed by they were being backed by everybody to make that happen. They couldn't launch on every major US exchange on day one, but Monad could. Why? Why is Monad, the blockchain that came out 2 days after and had literally been targeting November 22nd and moving their date around for a while, happens to have a very odd name, and all of these other things are occurring at the same time? I find it to be very interesting. In all honesty there, Callie, I think it is. Oh, Donna Roper, 75 years old and from Greenville, South Carolina. The big Clemson Carolina game. Gonna pull for Carolina for you, Zester. Thank you, Donna. You've come over to the side of good. You've left the dark side and joined the side of light. Thank you, Donna. I did always love how serious Columbia, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, and the Clemson Tigers would take those games. We burned a giant paper mache tiger effigy in a field once a year, just on account of that rivalry, as a matter of fact. All right, Frank O. Zester question. We call it the QFS. The banks don't call it that. Sounds like blockchain, having a personal blockchain account, then you can send it to your bank account. Your thoughts? Frank, I strongly believe that the term of QFS is not an accurate term. I strongly believe that, and have believed since the beginning, it's always been blockchain. It is a blockchain technology. It's blockchain cryptocurrencies. That is the new financial system. This is my personal belief, guys, absolutely. But I strongly believe we were given all the answers. We were told what the QFS would look like. We were told how it would operate. And then this technology called blockchain came out, and it just so happened to do everything we were told that this other system was going to do. I think that it has been the answer that has been sitting in front of the world's eyes for a while, Frank, and there is no difference. I mean, look at the definition. Go look at a cryptocurrency's definition versus the purported definitions that different folks have thrown out there for a quantum financial system. It's like saying tomato or tomato. The only difference is I can go and literally have a conversation on mainstream media about blockchain technology and how it's changing the financial system. And they're having those conversations in front of us. They're having those discussions on the Senate floor. The president is talking about the new financial system with blockchain technology. It's happening, and it's happening in front of our very eyes, in my opinion. But I know it's one of those things where for many years, quantum was always the term. I think that the term has always been that you should be far more worried about a quantum resistant system than you should be worried about a quantum system. And guess what? Blockchain technology is very capable of being, and that's quantum resistant. Hands to heart, Potter, do you think more blockchains like this will be rolled out and affect the value of XRP? Hands to heart, Pottery, I absolutely believe more blockchains will roll out like this. There will be competition, and I don't want there to not be competition. And so it's going to be absolutely a race to the finish line. It's going to be a race to take over market share in the coming years. You're going to see more and more of these. Do I think they directly affect the price of XRP? I don't think so. But in another type of way, they do. Because they are providing more options to more blockchains that are attempting to solve some of the same problems. In this case, Monad is actually far more than just that. Monad is trying to do things with Ethereum, with the EVM compatible blockchains. It's a major upgrade for EVM chains in and of itself. It benefits Ethereum. Monad succeeding will benefit Ethereum. Monad and Ethereum succeeding does not necessarily mean that XRP is losing. We are operating in different spaces. And so essentially, and that's always important to remember, cryptocurrencies have all been thrown together. They shouldn't be. It's the same idea as you would think it was pretty silly if somebody said that, well, I only buy Ford. It's the only stock I buy. Only Ford. And so if U.S. automakers are doing well, and Ford's doing well, then you would do well. But would any financial advisor recommend that you do that? No. They say, what do you need to do? You need to diversify. Well, what if something happens to the automotive industry? Then you're going to have a very, very bad year. It could mess up your entire portfolio plan. You're going to spread those things around because Ford is a car manufacturer. But NVIDIA, well, they make graphics cards and electronics. So you're not competing against each other. Ford is not competing with NVIDIA. But in the way that people have taken cryptocurrencies and put them into a box, people are thinking about it that way. People are thinking about Ford and NVIDIA as the same investment. And that doesn't make any sense. These blockchains are all designed to do different things. They're not competing with each other. Some are, but not all of them. Bitcoin is not competing with XRP. There is no competition. They do not do the same things. They don't have the same use case. There is no competition. And so it's very important to keep that in mind as you are looking around hands to heart, is that it's not a negative for XRP. Is it possible they could compete? Yes. But we always have to remember there's a lot of room here and there's a lot of different use cases. All right. Cal, you and your pops discussed the QFS equals blockchain. Actually, I went on and did a full presentation on his show on that one. Yeah, no, pops is very much on board in certain regards with that one. But yes, because he does not like that term. He's not a big fan of QFS as a term because the term is vague. It doesn't mean anything. But it has become the way to talk about the new financial system. And so that's where I think it kind of gets difficult. It's the term. People talk about the new financial system, the new QFS. In all honesty, the important part is the new financial system. What we decide to call it, in all honesty, doesn't really matter. It's that it works the way that it's supposed to that's going to be important. But yeah, I did a long one on that one. And actually, I did the same one over on John Dowling there, Callie. I think I've got John Dowling, at least considering on that one. I think I have got him very much brought over to that side. And it's something that I have maintained for the longest time. I mean, we can go back to, I was arguing with Pops that the new system was going to be blockchain from the second that I learned about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in the blockchain system, because it does everything we were told the new system would. It does all of it. It's immutable. It's transparent. It's decentralized. It's not controlled by a central bank. It's completely fair. Everyone follows the same rules with it. It's everything we were told. It's unhackable. It's worldwide. It's everything we were told. There would be no more scams and no more crime. Well, guess what? With blockchain technology, if you can get the police officers to enforce the law, I can give you the criminal's address. It does provide that. It provides everything we were told the new system would. And it's been able to do that since day one. And so I strongly believe that it is a matter of that old anecdote of the man lost at sea, praying to God for someone to save him or for God to save him. And a boat shows up, offers to save him. And he says, no, don't worry. I have prayed to God. God will save me. And so he continues to float around. A few days later, another boat comes by. Same story. He says, never mind, keeps on going. And he maintains that story all the way to the pearly gates, where he is then asked why he did not take the two opportunities that God gave him and God tried to save him. I think it's a very similar one in this, where folks don't like the answer, but everyone was given the answer. And the answer has been obvious for a very long time. How would that have worked? How would people have described perfectly this new system, this new quantum system, and then this technology comes out that does everything that was purported for the new system, and it's real, and it already exists. I don't know. To me, it seems like it was a part of the entire deal. Is that essentially we have had the answer sitting in front of our face since 2009. And that 2009 was essentially the day that we were told how the new financial system would work, or at least we were given the ability to make that logical connection, because it's everything. It's everything we were told. All packaged into a very, very, very techie name. And in many regards, I think that it is. I think that it's something where it's not the answer folks were expecting. And I think that is what has really thrown it off and made it difficult for folks to, to see the trees through the forest, to see the forest past the trees, however you use that saying. But that is just my personal opinion, though, on it, Callie. Absolutely my personal opinion. All right, though, guys. We are at 36 minutes. I was trying to keep it fairly short today. I was very excited, though, to talk about Monad. This is interesting. I will go ahead and say, as a final throw out to this one, and remember, of course, not financial advice, and I don't know if this was a good decision or not. But on Wednesday, I did a tutorial showing people the basics of Gemini Exchange. This morning, what I actually went in and did is I swapped my Bitcoin over to Monad. And so I am currently holding 14.39% of the Zero to Retirement Crypto Challenge in Monad. I'm still 85.49% in XRP. I may regret this move over here, but there's a lot of potential upside possibilities or potentiality. And so I'm making a bit of a gamble. I moved over my Bitcoin over to Monad, just as an update for those that are curious on those things. Remember, it's not financial advice. And in all honesty, I would have done better if I had kept it in Bitcoin the entire time, because, well, Bitcoin has gone up during this time frame. And so I would have actually had a little bit more money if I'd stayed in Bitcoin as of right now. But I decided to make a little bit of a switch up, jump on, and see how it goes for me. And so I'll be giving an update on that one come next week. Besides that, thank you guys so much for joining. Love you all. See you again on Monday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great Black Friday. Try not to spend too much. I hope everybody's enjoying all of the Thanksgiving leftovers. Peace.